Good evening, I am Amadin Ogbewe. Now tonight we'll be delving once more into a very prevailing issue at the moment, and that is the issue of food security. And when we talk about food security, we have to speak to farmers. We have to know what is going on down to the grassroots level, all the way to the farms. And tonight we'll be doing some justice to that, particularly with issues arising, food inflation being over 30%, accusations left and right against traders, against farmers. And now we speak to one of them who is down to the grassroots level. I'll be speaking with Mr. Audu, Aliyu, Shuaib. He joins me now to do justice to the matter. He's the executive director of Herwa Grassroots Development Foundation. He's also a farmer. He tells us now what farmers say is actually the problem and what is the way forward. All right, Mr. Shuaib, welcome to Top Talk.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's, before we delve into some issues, recent matters, I am aware you've been going on sort of a tour across Nigeria, perhaps northern Nigeria, to get more knowledge or get words from the farmers. And I'm sure you're aware, right now, the farmers are really a key point when it comes to conversations we're having all over the place. Because right now we have food inflation over 30%. So everybody wants to know, what are the farmers saying? What is, from their perspective, because people speak for farmers. They say the problem farmers have is because the dollar has gone this. Some people say it is this and that. So I'd like to get your thoughts. Going to the grassroots, speaking to these people, what are they saying? What's going on? Why do we have this high level of food or lack of food security at the moment?
Thank you, Mr. Amadin. This is a good topic that a right question at the right time. But if you could remember some 6 or 7 months ago, when we have a talk about issue of agriculture in Nigeria, I envisaged such a thing to happen, which I somehow blame ourselves and the government in other ways, particularly the state governors. So, in a real sense, according to all the statistics we went through, this signs of inflation and signals has been there for more than 2 decades. Precisely starting from 2004.
That far?
That far, let me tell you, because year in, year out, the rate of production has been going down, and nobody cares to talk about it. Many funds were released to cater for all these things, but they were not judiciously used. The right people that supposed to have all these things are not the people benefiting from it. That is my complaint last time. This what prompted us 13 years ago during Akiwomi Adeshina, I think, the former Minister of Agric, when he introduced this phone registration of farmers through fertilizer and the rest. We went around and galvanized more than 14 million farmers. It was a good plan if it could have been stick to. When we come with those data, he assigned my boss then to categorize it, which that responsibility was saddled to me. And I did it. We now classified Nigerian farmers into 4 groups. We have the novice, we have the amateur, we have the matured, and we have the professionals. So, among these 14 million, you won't believe me if I tell you less than 4 million are the professionals. Over 10 million of them, 2.5 or 2.7 among them are novice. Almost 3 million are amateur. The matured ones are not more than 1.5 or 1.8 million. So along that line, a disconnect was created communication gap between the farmers and the government and also the investors. So those novice and the amateur run out of the business. Later on, this issue of insecurity escalated, which also do away with some of the matured farmers. It was only left half of the matured farmers and the professionals. The professionals are those who we rely on, because no matter how hard it is, they usually find their own way because they are into it for long. They can persevere all the hardship in it. So that's why we went around asking them, what is the problem? The first issue is, most at times, they do normally get the input after the time needed.
When you say inputs, what do you mean?
When I mean by input, fertilizers, seeds, and other things that will enhance the cultivation for them to grow more crops at their side. At all time, a farmer is expected to get all this input handy 2 months or 40 days before cultivation. But they are not getting it at that time. Sometimes at the middle of their cultivation, the produce will come, which is not useful. They need it before that time. Some of them, like NPK, urea. Like in the northeast, precisely Borno and some part of Yobe and Adamawa, they hardly get fertilizer for the past 10 to 9 years. So their production went out of the way because they cannot meet up with the organic fertilizer alone. They are not used to it and how to process it to make it cope with the current situation we are in this thing. So the insecurity also makes some of them out of the business. It was estimated under one national update about 540 something billion was released to anchor borrower. But all these funds were not judiciously used.
I think the amount is much larger than that, but go ahead.
Yeah, just for the anchor borrowers that I know, within that 2015 and 2022. Right, yeah. You understand? So later on, some funds were being released also, almost 900 and something billion towards the end of the regime to augment all these things, but all went in vain. The problem now, what we understand is the government has to come back and bring those extension workers back to the field. We have to create a farm settlement. And then we pacify the farmers. Yes, at this present reality, if government say he can give all what they need, I can assure them, because we are going through some challenges. So all of us have to sacrifice for us to get what we want. This is what we are trying to tell them. But they have lose confidence in the agricultural programs in the country. But what we are doing now is to tell them, no, you are the government. The government alone cannot do it without you.
Can I quickly come in here and ask, how would you respond to some of the allegations flying about? Because at this point, some persons are now looking at farmers with an inquisitive eye, that maybe they are gaining somehow from the travails of the people. And I just want to get your thoughts. There's an issue where people keep talking about hoarding, that people are producing, but they are hiding it because they want prices to go up. And then there's another one going about that. I believe just the other day, they said a bus was intercepted of produce being taken to Niger. That's one of our neighboring countries. And some also say that because of the way the Naira now performs as opposed to the CFA, that some Nigerian farmers prefer to go take this outside the borders and sell because they make much more money because the value of the CFA is more than the naira and so on and so forth. So I've heard other lawyers, other farmers say, really feel pained at these allegations. So I want to know from your angle, being that you're part and parcel of this community.
Yeah, Mr. Amadin, if I get you right, they may be right, they may be wrong. But from my own perception, the insecurity on ground is what contributed to all this. Even the farmers themselves. Let me tell you one thing. A professional farmer will never allow to venture into hoarding. And then what brought us into this issue is that topic we discussed last time when I was here. That funds were released. For instance, 100 people were to go and farm with the fund that is being released. Only 25% or 20% of those farmers went to farm.
So what happened?
75% of them, on the day of returning it to the government, they went together with those that did not farm, competing to buy from the market, to repay it back to the government. That was where the inflation started.
So are you saying there was some fraudulence in this?
Yeah. People collected money to go and farm, but they ended up diverting that fund or using it for another thing, rather instead of the main purpose that the fund was being released to. That is the grievances the real farmers are having now. They always say funds are being released with their name, and they are not given that opportunity to give their own quota. So that's why now we went into first, how are we going to do? Let's categorize the real farmers, the political farmers, and other shenanigans farmers.
They are political farmers.
Yeah, we call them political farmers. They only do it on the book. You can't expect a nation whereby we have more than 200 million population. Our population is growing. And then the rate of farmers in Nigeria every year is going back. Starting from that 2004 that I am telling you, in each year you see many people who went out of the farming system because there is no encouragement. It's those that have that thing in mind that are still there. Even though this issue forcefully bring back some of them to the farm, but they cannot access their land the way they were being accessing before. So you can't expect a situation whereby a fund was being released for 100 million people to go and farm, or 50 million people, only 5 or 10 million people farm, and then the rest 190 million with those 10 million that they will reserve for their own consumption to go and meet in the market, that you cannot get inflation. Secondly, the issue of dollar and then taking it out does not arise. Amadin, let's tell ourselves the truth. We are all Nigerians. No matter how we is, if we pray for something to fail, we pray for our failure because we are Nigerians. But some did not see that in that perception. They criticize things the way they do. But what we are after now is, try somebody in UK. I have a brother who just in last September went out to UK. We were discussing with him. Before he went, I tell him many things. He said, have you ever been there? I say, no. But I have people that we are communicating out there. Do you know that you cannot get a breakfast in less than £5 in UK? How much is £5 today? It's almost 10,000 naira. Today, no matter how we are in Nigeria, with 1,500 naira, you can get a good breakfast. What I see in it is, I always say it, until and unless we revert to the situation, we grow what we and produce and then we have to grow what we produce what we consume and consume what we produce before we get it right. All of us now has went into buying in the market and the rest. In the olden days, you see in a community like this, you may see from 5 or 10 people having gardens. You don't need to be going market promptly. They use it at their backyard just to ameliorate some sufferings. Today, everyone went to market to buy the little one, just tomatoes, alefo, those issue of vegetables that they usually use for the, even that bitter leaf and the rest. Before you see it in every household.
So like our former president, are you encouraging us to go back to the farms?
Yeah, that is the only way. That is the only way. If to me you are going to leave me, I just perceived something last week. What makes me laugh, I'm sorry to say that. You see, one president of a country once says that how can a country who makes English a compulsory course and make agriculture a voluntary course will feed himself, which is Nigeria, technically. Do you know that in our context in Nigeria, English is a compulsory course to every level, but agriculture is just an optional course. So until we make it a compulsory, whereby no matter how little it is, let somebody have an idea of having something that he can produce to save some money on his own on that aspect. Then the other money that you are getting, you may use it on other ways. This inflation, to me, I always said, the dollar has no anything to do with our inflation and then high price of everything. When you compare it outside there and look at it very well, sometimes I even said Nigerian people are pampered brats. Because when you compare the situation out there and what we are having now, it is now that we are facing the reality. That is why we are complaining most. But before, we live in illusion. Now, the reality is coming to us. Every one of us usually wants something abroad. You will see a lady who her father or her mother usually go to a just local hairdoer. Those women in the house that normally do hair and the rest, she will use 5,000 and the rest. Today, there are some hairs. One of them they show me in one shop is 450,000. Just a hair, just weave on like this that women wear, and they buy it in dollar. What makes it there? This is an investment for somebody, or a capital for someone to start a business. If that lady that will buy that thing at 450,000 will invest that in a business locally there, she will make more profit and our naira will be strong. We make our naira to be loose because we so much put burden on consumption than production. And as a consumer, when a nation always become a consumer, he will not have anything valuable in his own thing. That is the situation we are now. Until we revert and then look inward, view everything holistically, then we can get it right. In my school, even though it's a public school, we have school farm in our school. And the principal and the agri teachers usually take care of it. Whether you like it or not, you will go there, you must water one of the 2 vegetables there. You must farm to get that just knowledge, so that when the time comes, you will not feel it more painful than you have never been exposed to such a thing. And all these things are no longer there now. Let me tell you one surprise thing. I went to a village. I met one old man. He has never been into school. Do you know, I drive an idea of rotational farming from that old man that is very simple and easy than those professors that are there just talking. That man gave me an idea to plant 3 crops in the same field, and you will harvest them at the same time. And they grow simultaneously, and you need them at that time. You take them to the market. How will he feel? This type of people, when they have been well trained and they were equipped, what did you expect them to bring to the society? So what we are saying here is that issue of the border, Ilela and Megatari and the rest. I even had the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, say something yesterday or day before yesterday in one forum like that. Is it financial, something like that, organized by the Ministry of Finance on that? He said they caught some trucks and the rest. You can't bring that out. You can't bring that out.
How do you mean?
Yeah. The issue is those locations shares just a fence, not a boundary. I don't call them share a boundary. They share a fence with Nigeria. In Megatari, from the axis, their axis, and then there is one there, you call Ilela, I think is in Sokoto or something like that, which it will take you to Niger. And then Meadwa, which is after the former president village, Daura. They shares the same boundary. And both the Nigerians and Nigerian people usually come for that market to buy their goods. In the other axis too, through Jigawa and Kano, them too, they match in that aspect. That thing has been there for more than 300 years. You can't do away with it. So, let me tell you one thing. I was surprised when I see a farm in Niger. Do you know they grow more grains than us now? When I asked the guy, why don't you use those things? He said, no. If I use those machines, these women that does not have something to do, they cannot earn anything. That's why I want them to do it locally so that they can earn something out of it. Look at the production chain. Look at what he has in mind. He tell me in a day, those women, they prepare more than 20 tons for him in a day. And it took them, I think, 2 months to finish those farms. How can we compare it? How many farmers do we have that can their farm, the harvest they have, while packaging them, they can package 20 tons in a day for 1 month? How many can we count now in Nigeria? The fishermen are out of it. There are a lot of things. Our rivers have dried. We have all these things in our disposal, but the utilization is not there. So we went out of, everything went out of hand. Until and unless we sit down holistically and look at all these things. You will see a river flow around Kaduna and other things. Till the year will come round, nobody will try to cultivate something there to grow. Nigeria, we are blessed with many things. Amadin, some countries at the peninsula, there, Arab Peninsula and the rest, when you go there, you will surprise some things. But up till now, look at what United Arab Emirates did. When I saw that video, and I asked somebody, I become so crazy. That is a desert place. Due to this crisis of Russia and Ukraine, they have to invest in wheat farming to ameliorate those sufferings. We have everything in our disposals. No matter how the insecurity is, I know it's a challenge. But when the state governors, like I said earlier, the state governors and the federal government must come together, particularly the state governors, because they own the land, and the local government chairman, they own the land. The federal government has no feet of land in any state. If he has a project, he has to liaise with the governor of that state, and the governor through the local government council chairman before they can get land to do something. You don't expect that person alone to make a miracle and make things work. The thing is, we need synergy. Let's forget our political differences, religion, ethnicity. Let's face the reality. We will get it right. Because everything now, hunger has no disparity. He does not know whether you come from the north, you come from the south, or you are a Muslim, or you are a Christian. Hunger did not know that. So why can we afford to lose all these things? Let's remove all the differences there. Understand our differences. Then we come together and live.
Right,
We'll get it right.
But what about the issue of the corruption, as you've admitted here, in some of these systems where, let's assume, the state governors have come together, everyone has come together, they've said this is what we are going to disburse for these particular results. You've spoken that there are political farmers and so on and so forth. So what's the solution to that? Is that something you fix from within the system? Because definitely if there are political farmers outside the system, there will be accomplices probably within the system who's helping them put their names in places where they shouldn't be. Yeah. So this issue is a big issue. How do you solve it? And this is coming on the heels of I believe the National Assembly and others trying to probe and investigate what actually went on with the Anchor Borrowers program, which actually went up to ₦1 trillion, and I believe way more than that. So how do you think this problem can be solved?
Yeah, that is what we are working towards it. It's just for the government to give a listening ear to all and sundry. Anybody that is willing to give an idea should be given a room first. But statistic data of the real farmers at this stage is paramount. And this is what we are working on. You cannot put something on nothing until and unless the federal government and the state collaborate to get the real data of the farmers before we can start getting what we want. All these things can be checkmate if that data is there. The idea now is the real farmers, let the government create a way that they will have a centralized account or bank that they will be purchasing. Whoever went and go and buy the product, let the subsidy be done directly from them. And any farmer that is willing, he can contribute. That is what we are trying to put on to them now. If the government bring it, you buy. Yeah, they agree. But they did not agree to be following some things. The government now, what is supposed to do is, in every local government, let him map out the real farmers and which crop do they grow and how. It's not we release money for farming. This state is not farming rice, and you will see him mentioning in the Anchor Borrowers. How can he cultivate rice in his land? This state did not grow yam, but he wants to benefit from the yam. That state did not produce cassava, but he wants to benefit from it. This state did not produce grain, but he wants to benefit from the fund released for grain production. All the local governments, let them be as we did, according to the crop you people produce. We classify it and give them to the right owners of the people that are cultivating that. So from the local government now, for instance, if the local government A is producing maize, rice, and other things, so community B, what is his priority? What grows there efficiently? Then we give concentration to that. That is how we map all the local governments we went through. Right. So nobody will interwove or something like that. When we are having project for this certain crop, we know where we are heading to get the result.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Shuaib. It's been a pleasure having you and getting to hear from you.
Thank you.
And hear from what's really going on right down to the grassroots level. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you, too.
Thank you very much.